Coming up in this episode of the KickCast, a site that lets you crowdfund people, a new way to lock down the boys, and headphones that will charge your phone. So sit back and relax. It's time for the KickCast. Hey everybody, it is time for another episode of the KickCast, the podcast about crowdfunding. And joining me as always is Drew. How are you doing, Drew?
I am fabulous. You guys are lucky enough to have two of the best looking, broadcast peeps in your face right now. Congratulations and welcome to the show.
If you guys have never seen the KickCast before, this show is it's pretty simple. Drew and I, we go out, find some cool crowdfunding projects, bring them back, and tell you if you should back, sack, or track them. Simple as that.
Very easy, and sometimes those things that we find are scary, some are frightening, and some are really cool, but we got some that make me kind of shake in my boots today.
Yeah, but before we start on that, let's kind of start off with some news. And the first one is actually one thing about the KickCast is we're not limited to just one crowdfunding site such as Kickstarter, Indiegogo. We like to look at other sites too. And I actually found this the other day. It's called Pave. So Pave is actually a little bit more interesting than I thought it would be, because instead of actually crowdfunding projects, you're actually crowdfunding people in this case. And so what happens is these people come onto Pave, make their profile. It's almost like a resume. It shows you their educational experience, shows you what their aspirations is, and why they're trying to raise this money right here. And what happens then, those people are called prospects. And, sometimes it's to pay for school. Sometimes it's to get to a professional goal or some kind of creative idea on there. And then the backers, they're actually they're investors almost. So it's almost just like you're going to a venture capitalist or an angel funder and trying to get them to kind of fund your company right there. And what they do is they look for people that think is a good match and have potential in reaching their goal. And then they'll actually make a deal with the prospect. And they, in return, for the next 10 years, they get part of this person's income back. And, it helps, you can feel all good and mushy inside that you help somebody be successful. And I looked at some of these guys. These are like financial investors and everything. And when you put these together, they call them teams. So there's, an interesting kind of method on what they're doing here. And with the teams, not only are you just giving them money, you're actually giving them opportunities for mentorship. That's why you see a lot of investors in here where they can give these guys some advice on how to grow their business or how to start their business. Because I know personally, like, when you're like, how do I do this if I'm my own personal business owner, or how do I grow the soccer program out into a larger influence and things like that. And these people are, they either know something about it or they're a good networking conduit right there.
Interesting. I'm looking at this and trying to understand the drive. I can understand funding people, funding ideas. Like they have in their slider, they've got Terrence, aspiring journalist. He's raised $20,000 with the help of 8 backers. I don't know if Terrence knows this, but that 20,000, he's supposed to be paying dividends for the next 10 years. That's probably his salary every year for the next 10 years is 20,000, and doing journalism. I guess I'm that's confused. I guess scary for me. It's hard enough for in this business of journalism. You usually get an agent, and your agent gets you a better job, so then they get a cut for the next couple of years, or at least while you're at that station. I find this really strange. So, how backers get kickbacks for the next 10 years, and you just arrange that somehow?
Yeah, it's a little vague on there, and I didn't really want to attempt to sign up and try to back someone at this point. But apparently, you can arrange to get a percentage of their income back. I don't know how you actually determine this percentage, or if you just talk between each other type thing. And then you also, there's this thing they called ripples. So instead of you getting the money back in the returns, you can tell the site that I want to do a ripple funding, where that money, instead of goes to you, it actually is reserved for another prospect that it could sign up for the site on there.
An interesting advancement in crowdfunding. I think that's why it's news on our show. But I think that's really interesting that you like somebody could fund their education and find a benefactor. Yeah, I like it, but I think there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I was looking at some of these people. A lot of these people have MBAs, or one of them was like an MBA and has a master's in bioengineering, and she wants to start up her own medical device company out there. Which is, I'm really kind of interested in this kind of view, and I don't know how I feel about it though. This could be a good chance for some people to get out there, but but I don't know how selective they are and how they put people up on here, or yeah, it's kind of like, hey, Uncle Joe, can I get some money on there?
Right, right.
Um,
What if I would like to raise $20,000 so I can take the summer off and learn to code Ruby? Write Rails. Do I go on here and just say, let's find some backers to help me out with this?
yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll stick myself on there and say, hey, I need help and connections on how to grow this podcast and everything.
There you go. There you go. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. There's a very large beetle banging into my outside walls. Might bite me.
Hey, well, we have tape running, so if you get injured, we'll just post that as a viral video somewhere, right? So
yeah, weird, strange, a lot of questions, but it's an interesting deal.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, you can go to pave.com and find out a little bit more of that. And it's kind of weird, but who knows? It might work. All right, so our next item we want to talk about, we see Drew's porch right there, is Kickstarter is finally expanding to another country. We know that in October of last year, Kickstarter finally opened up from just the US only to the UK. And now they are actually, that's not the right one, they are actually getting ready for Canada. And that is interesting in general.
Oh, Canada.
So they're finally opening up to Canada on there, and site's not doing the cool thing. One of the reasons I wanted to show it is that this site has a really cool animation for some reason so they're not quite open in Canada yet, but you can register and know when they're going to come up on there, and I guess that animation's not going to... And like, if you're watching on the video version, there it goes. They have the website animated where there's a guy who puts a mug with the Canadian maple leaf on there, and you just see him typing in the background.
Wow, that's a full frame video.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. But
HTML5 is sexy.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how long it's taking for them to expand into other countries right now, because if you count Canada, that's 3 whole countries, while other sites such as Indiegogo and everything are available in many more different countries on there. I wonder if it's a payment issue where they have to work out with a local credit processor, or if they're just kind of taking it slow so they don't get overwhelmed.
That's a good quote. Yeah, understandable. Interesting to follow that, and I think after Canada, what's the next? I think they just keep growing.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they go into South America from there, because there's a lot of startup companies I'm hearing coming out of like Brazil and such that I think would be good incubator, Kickstarter would be a good incubator for them. All right, so that's all we have for the news. So let's go into actual projects on here. So Drew, do you play any trading card games?
No, I haven't played for years. I have a brother that plays quite a bit, or used to. He was the one who collected all the Magic cards, and so I would humor him by playing a couple of games here and there, but I never collected, never played. But I do know that it is quite a marketplace. There are a lot of people out there that play games.
Yeah, so one of the things is that a lot of people do. I actually have a card game mat on my desk right now that I kind of use as a desk covering. Is that people have different mats you can just put your cards on, so you don't have to put it on a dirty table or something. You can get your cards damaged. And a lot of these card games, especially in Magic, you have a lot of different dice and different counters that you have to keep track of when you're playing all these cards on here. And EGMats is attempting to become the solution for all of this. So what EGMats is it's a game mat that has an LCD touchscreen and LEDs that are built into it. The LEDs are used as counters, and your touchscreen is used for multiple different things, such as keeping score or rolling a die and on there. So it's a pretty simple idea, and I'm surprised that nobody has had something like this before on there. And supposedly to them, it's a pretty thick mat that's pretty durable, so you won't have any issues with it. And right now, it supports Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and this card. I've never heard of this card game called Android Netrunner. And they plan to add more trading card games through software updates as different card games get popular and whatnot. What's interesting is they don't have an API for that, but they're thinking about that. I looked at it up in their FAQs. The mat also has a USB port to charge the devices and to do your software updates. And supposedly this built-in battery is going to last about 10 hours for full charge on there. So, Drew, how do you kind of feel about these mats right here, and do you think they're worth it or not?
I think I really like them because there's a lot of gamers. It's a great market, and it's about time somebody updated those mats. I've seen them played. I've seen a lot of my students do a lot of video projects on Magic games and other things. This seems like a pretty cool way to keep track of the dice, of the points, the tickers. All in all, I think it's a good. And for me, it's a track because I don't game, but I could totally support the idea, and this is one that I would throw in that kind of, $15 support. Hey, I think you guys got it.
Yeah, I love the idea because I've seen people who are like carrying around a bag of dice. They're carrying around their deck holder, and some people I didn't know this, but I just barely got back from Nerdtacular, and people were playing Magic the Gathering. They'll have like multiple decks on them, so they're carrying different decks, carrying dice, and then some of them are carrying mats. And what I like about this is it consolidates at least the dice and the mat together, so you can just roll it up and just take that in your decks with you on there. So for me, it is a track because I don't think it's for everybody, and it's a little bit pricey. I know people who will play a lot of card games without a mat at all on there, but I love the idea of it. And if these guys get really close, I'm gonna kick them a couple bucks to get it over on there.
And they're looking good. I mean, 3 weeks to go, and they're over over a third of the way there, so it's looking good.
Yeah, and I really hope they get an API so they don't have to worry about updating all these counters and whatnot all the time, and we can get people who are like super into some of these like more specific card games and go into that. So that is the EGMats, and hey, at least they look cool.
They look cool. They're well designed.
All right, Drew. So here's a. I never knew this was an issue on here, but have you ever had problems with control down below in your underwear?
Control down below. Only when I was in track and field back in the day. But then they have special parts for control down below when you're active. I guess maybe that's what it is. Nowadays, I just try not to be active. I think that's what it is. Like
the lack of activeness will save you.
If I know I need control down below, I just know it's not an activity I want to be a part of right now.
All right, so you kind of want to explain to people what these boxer briefs are.
So this one is awesome. This is Drawstring Undies. It's called Boxer Briefs just with an adjustable pouch by UFM, or Underwear for Men. And it's a very simple Kickstarter. I'm still trying to figure out. Their goal was only $1,000, and they've doubled that, and they still got 3 weeks to go. But what their idea is and what they're pushing is a drawstring system in your underwear that gives you specific isolation and support to your nether regions, so that when your boxer briefs can go from being just normal everyday boxer briefs in my slacks to, I'm going to go hit the links, or I don't know how active that is, but I'm going to go pick up games. You can reach down in the front of your drawers, grab that cinch up string, lock things down, and nothing gets stuck to your leg. Go team.
Yeah, I didn't know this was that big of an issue for people, but apparently it is. And what I love about this project is that it's not asking for like $100,000 to make a giant run of this. It's only asking for a modest amount, which I honestly think is asking not for enough.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to look through and figure out really what do you plan on doing? Is it just to get the patent? I mean, the patent's already pending. Where 1,000 just doesn't seem to go very far. Do they just want something that was absolutely doable? Is it a pre-sale situation where they're like, yeah, let's just pre-sell a couple. We've already got this all figured out.
Yeah, and like these boxers actually look nice. It's not like some outrageous
True.
thing where you're like, I would never be caught alive wearing one of those on there. I'm just a little worried about the drawstring on there. What, is there any safeguards for accidental over tightening or anything like that?
It says simply pull the strings and stop when you've achieved your desired level of comfort. So if you overdo your comfort level, I guess you just have to turn your back to the crowd and start digging. I don't know, loosen it up. I don't know.
Because that's that's going to be a little awkward, and you might sound a little awkward at the same time.
Sorry, I pulled too tight. I just don't know.
That's the only thing I would ask for is some kind of safety mechanism to prevent, making you sound prepubescent.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, right now they're saying that in the industry, you've got to do like 9,000 plus units at a time to get these manufactured where they want to go. I don't see $1,000 being able to do that. This is the big head scratcher for me. What is $1,000 good for?
But the one thing I have to give this guy props for is his Kickstarter video. It's maybe a minute 15 long, and he comes on, he's like, hey, this is what I need the money for, and this is what we're doing. Done. That's, short, right to the point, and he was mic'd decently too.
Yes, finally mic'd decently. That's a big deal for some reason. I don't know how hard that could be for some people. Anyway, my goal tonight is to figure out why this guy is only asking for 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, what does that fund? Like his time for thinking up the drawstring?
Yeah, I don't know. And
I'm glad it's backed and it's gonna go places, but at that level, it's like, well, you're not going to be shipping this off to a manufacturer for $1,000. So how does everybody get what they've ordered?
Yeah. And then, so the question is, Drew, are you going to backtrack or sack this?
I will. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't say sack because I think for me it's a track. I don't need these, but this is somebody that's going to a realm that hasn't really been changed for many, many years. You got boxers or briefs, and here's somebody that says, hey, why not throw out, what you're comfortable with the added, like, optional support. So for a lot of people, I think it works. I myself will probably just track it and follow it.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is everything that we're covering tonight, I just realized, is it's all about change.
Changing what has been done forever and ever.
Yeah, and for this one, I'm going to go with the back on it. Just, for it seems like a good idea and there seems to be a need for it. The only thing I'm a little worried how I'm going to ever do a KickCast rewind on one of these.
Know exactly how you're going to do it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to find a mannequin or something on there.
No, you're going to stand right up and be like, this is how they fit and let me show you something.
I don't think we'll ever have viewers ever again if I do that. That's what I worry about.
No one will come back for the drawstring undies.
But who knows? It's simple, hopefully an elegant solution or a painful solution.
They look really good. They look fantastic. If I'm no designer by any means, but if I were going to design undies, these look like your Calvin Klein, solid, simple but form-fitting. I mean, probably helps that they have some really sexy legs in them. Like my legs would not look like that.
Yeah, and it's supposed to like do that moisture wicking material, so it's all good to go, So who knows? Maybe we'll see a KickCast review on that or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. So those are the adjustable boxers by UFM Underwear for Men.
Brought to you by UFM.
So, all right, Drew, this is the last one, and I know you have experience with this. You go to a lot of conventions.
I do.
So you're always kind of running and gunning, and you always have your phone, and your phone is pretty much your lifeline on knowing where to go next because you're always communicating. Yeah. And you probably have this issue where maybe halfway through the day, your phone's almost dead.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long, and I will then spend the next 4 interviews with the phone in the backpack connected to a charger.
Yeah, and then I know another thing that you always teach your students, monitor your camera audio when you are recording. Mm-hmm. So that means you always got to have headphones plugged in. Mm-hmm. So when I actually saw these, I actually first thought of you because I'm like, this is like 2 things that Drew uses regularly, so he might need these. and those are the OnBeat solar headphones. So the OnBeat solar headphones, they actually are headphones that use solar energy to charge any smartphone or tablet.
And they look good, and I'm assuming they sound good. He is an audio engineer, and they probably sound pretty good.
So people are wondering, like, how in the world do you do these? Because this is kind of two random things. So what happens is there's actually a solar panel that's built into the band of the headphone, and that uses that can capture the sun's energy and then store it into two batteries that are actually stored inside the headphones. And supposedly they are 100 milliamps. I don't know if it's 100 milliamps each or 100 milliamps total. That's actually a good question. I wonder about it because if it's 100 milliamps total, that's not going to be enough to charge most modern smartphones anymore.
Right.
And so the way it works is the prototype they actually have in the video and on pictures right now are actually outdated because just barely today they posted an update where instead of having a built-in audio cable, they're going to have a port where you can have a replaceable cable in that on one side, and on the other side it has your standard USB port. So you can so all you got to do is have your own charger and then plug it in. And on the actual headphone cable, there's a clip that you can clip your USB cable to. So it pretty much looks like a two-sided headphone, and nobody's gonna have a second thought on why you have a phone hanging off the side of your head.
Good point. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
And so, like, it's shit. And like, I love this idea because we're always on the go, and of course, solar energy takes a while to charge these cells. But hopefully, this is even at 1,000 milliamps, it's enough to give your phone that top up right there. So if you use it wisely, you see your phone's about halfway, charge it then, and then for the rest of the day, hopefully it's still charging, so you can plug in your phone later on that. It's not like these battery packs that we have that once they're dead. We'll have to go figure out how to charge that on top of everything else. And my only negative, and this is because I have issues with audio and headphones, is that I'm really curious on how they sound because I'm really picky on my audio signature on that. But other than that, I like it, and I only had an issue with the video because there was a lot of echo in his video, which I didn't understand.
And he was in a soundproof room. I mean, half the wall behind him was covered with sound foam. So I'm curious. Is like, did they add reverb on purpose? It sounded chambery. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my only issues on that, and I think a lot of people will like this, especially if you have kids in high school who are always outside all day, anyways, or if you're like Drew running convention floor coverage all the time. I would definitely say it's a back for me. Regardless of the sound quality, the price may sound a little expensive for some people, but I think it's worth it. And remember, all this money is really going to help this guy get his idea off the ground because he shows you different prototypes where, like, I think his first one was just a pair of normal headphones and he had like just a solar panel taped to the top of it or something like that. Yeah. And it's kind of evolved into this integrated solution. So I really like that kind of idea. Like, Drew, do you think you would be using one of these?
I would. I mean, I have plenty of shoots that I've done that are outdoors that I would I'm going to wear headphones anyway all day long. Why not be ready to keep my iPhone alive? Because that is lifeblood for me as a either on a con floor or out on a shoot. That's how I can connect with the executive producer, how I can make sure I know who I'm meeting and where I'm going. And there's just so much communication I do during a shoot that it's kind of, for me, it's natural for a shooter. Even normal day-to-day, I think college kids running around college have their headphones on all the time. Walking between classes, just in a normal day, they could keep that phone charged for whatever they do in the evenings. At the back, I think there's some great stuff here.
Yeah, and like some people might be going, what if it's cloudy all day? These headphones you can actually plug into a wall wart or plug into the wall, and they'll charge that way too. So you're not totally relying on the solar charge, but you have options, and that's what I like about this is you're not just limited to solar charging only, or just having a battery charge only. It kind of takes the best of both worlds on there. So I guess that's two backs for us, or is
two backs? We're pounding the pounds. I back it.
Yeah. So, and wow, Drew, that's all our projects already. We kind of cruised through all those, and these, like I said earlier, all of these ideas kind of take something that we've known before and innovated them in some way. On their some of them we didn't even know needed innovating. So
Yes, exactly. I had no idea.
So if you guys agree or disagree with any of these projects that Drew and I talked about, or if you know of a project that you want us to kind of check out and review on the KickCast, send us an email at kickcast@ktdata.net, or leave us a comment, message us on Facebook, facebook.com/kickcast, or on Twitter @kickcast, or on Google plus.kickcast.net.
We are everywhere.
We are everywhere. I think we're on Pinterest somewhere, but I don't remember that. I think it's pinterest.com/ktdata. And there's a board where I tried at least to keep updated all the projects, and they're linked over there. Oh yeah, special announcement for all you guys listening. You know, normally we do the KickCast every 2 weeks. And I mentioned earlier that I just barely got back from Nerdtacular. What was nice about Nerdtacular is there are a couple people that we've actually featured on the KickCast before, such as Andrew Allen, Tom Merritt, and Bill Durand, who have all their different projects. I went out and interviewed them, so we're going to have a special episode next week where it's not going to be featuring really any products, but we're going to kind of dive into the mind and see what happens on the other side as a project creator and see what we can learn from their experience from that. So that's going to be exciting. That will be released July 16th, 2013, straight into your podcast feed. Of course, we won't have a live stream that day. If you actually come, you'll see Tito and I recording Kita. But that will be fresh at kickcast.net. And of course, but if you want to watch us live, our next episode is actually, will you be here, Drew, July 23rd? I know that's a day before.
It should be.
Yeah, so we should. If not, pay attention to our social networks, and we'll reschedule it around that because the 24th is a holiday in Utah on there. Join us in the chat room. I know Rev and LaserNorm are in there, so you can always find that at live.kickcast.net. And we start about 9 p.m. Mountain Time when we start streaming, so you can come in and say hi to us. You got anything to plug right now, Drew?
Not much. I'll be here in 2 weeks, and I will try and find some more innovative ways to use underwear in the meantime.
All right, guys. We will see you guys in 2 weeks, and make sure you check out the special episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.